Some car brands are already on life support. Sales are collapsing, dealerships shutting down, loyal customers walking away. In 2025, these car brands are dying. And if you own one, the smartest move might be to sell it now before the value completely disappears. Because once a brand is gone, parts dry up, resale tanks, and you're left stuck with a car nobody wants. These are the 10 car brands that may not survive a decade. You might be surprised by which one is number one. So let's start with a brand that was once everywhere. Small cars, rally legends, even SUVs that built a loyal following. Today, it's just a shadow of what it used to be. Mitsubishi used to mean something. The Eclipse was a tuner legend. The Evo was a rally monster. They had cars people dreamed about. Today, Mitsubishi is the ghost of a car dealership. Walk onto a lot and their section feels like a graveyard shift. A couple Mirages collecting dust, maybe even an Outlander parked outside like it's waiting for someone to remember it still exists. Last year, they sold fewer cars in the US than Tesla sold in a couple weeks. Think about that. A company that once had icons on the road, now barely scraping by with models people avoid even when they're desperate. The Mirage is America's cheapest car, but owning one is like buying a disposable lighter. It'll spark once or twice and then leave you stranded when you actually need it. Owners complain about transmissions dying, engines that sound like they're begging for mercy, and dashboards that light up like a Christmas tree before the first year of ownership. We actually made a video about that you can check out in the upper right corner. Even dealers have had enough. Nearly half have walked away from the brand since 2019. When you can't sell the cheapest car in America during an affordability crisis, you're not just struggling, you're cooked. Mitsubishi proved that once great brands can fade into obscurity, but the next one hurts even more because it's not just fading, it's a household name that basically has been reduced to a single car, and even that one's on shaky ground. Chrysler was once American royalty. The 300 was a statement car. The town and country minivan practically invented the family hauler. For decades, Chrysler has had icons. But look at Chrysler today. Walk into a showroom and it's embarrassing. One lonely Pacifica parked in a corner. Maybe a leftover 300 that feels more like a museum piece than a new car. The Pacifica was supposed to carry the brand forward, but it's drowning in recalls, electrical problems, stalling engines, hybrid batteries that can catch fire. Families bought this van for a peace of mind and instead got endless trips back to the dealership. Sales have collapsed so badly that Chrysler's parent company has quietly shifted focus to just Jeep and Ram. Chrysler has been left behind. No big launches, no buzz, no future roadmap, just a brand hanging on because the lights haven't been turned off yet. Owning a Chrysler in 2025 is like watching the last act of a play where everybody already knows the ending. The badge is still there, but the soul is gone. This isn't a comeback story, it's the slow fade of a once great American name. Chrysler is fading quietly, but Infiniti's collapse is even louder because it was supposed to be Nissan's luxury baby. Their shot at luxury, their answers to Lexus, BMW, and even Mercedes. Instead, it's become a brand nobody can explain and fewer people are starting to want. Infiniti is one of those brands that just feel like it's just floating. Not dead yet, but not really alive either. And it's shocking because there was once a time where Infiniti actually mattered. Go back to the early 2000s, the G35 coupe was everywhere. A car kids plastered on posters and gamers picked in Need for Speed. For a brief moment, Infiniti was cool. People were saying they finally cracked the code to take on BMW and Lexus, but fast forward to now, and Infiniti looks like a brand that just lost its plot. Sales in the US dropped almost 50% last year. Think about that. In a market where luxury sales are growing, Infiniti is shrinking. On the other hand, Genesis, Hyundai's baby brand that didn't even exist a decade ago, is already outselling them. And their cars, they don't even help the case. The QX50 was supposed to carry the brand ahead. Instead, it's become a rolling example of what's wrong with Infiniti. Underneath that nice badge is just a Nissan with the same fragile engine and same CVT transmission that's been failing for years. Owners pay luxury prices and get economy car problems. That's not a winning formula. The bigger issue though is the identity. Lexus is known for reliability, BMW is known for driving, Tesla is just tech, Mercedes is prestige. Infiniti, well, it really isn't known for anything anymore. Ask 10 people what Infiniti stands for and you'll probably get 10 different answers, or none at all. And when a brand doesn't stand for anything, it doesn't survive. Dealers are bailing, budgets are being cut, and even in China, the world's biggest luxury market, Infiniti is pulling back. Right now, Infiniti isn't collapsing with a bang, it's just slowly fading away, quietly, like it never figured out why it existed in the first place. Infiniti shows what happened when a brand loses identity. Lincoln is a brand that had identity in American luxury. Presidential cars, icons of status, and still somehow managed to fade into irrelevance. They once stood at the top of American luxury. The Continental wasn't just a sedan, it was a cultural moment. Presidents rode in them, executives bragged about them, and if you pulled up in a Lincoln, people just noticed. Fast forward to now, and the story could be more different. The Continental is gone, the sedans are gone. What's left is a lineup of SUVs that feel more like dressed up Fords than world-class luxury cars. And when your entire brand identity boils down to a shinier Explorer or a nicer Edge, it's not just enough to keep people interested. The Navigator gave Lincoln a brief comeback. For a few years, it was a hit. Rappers name dropped them, athletes drove them, and sales spiked. But that spark didn't last. Beyond the Navigator, the rest of the lineup has failed to grab attention. Ask a younger buyer what Lincoln means to them, and most of them won't have an answer. The sales charts tell the story. In the US, it's losing ground to Cadillac, Lexus, BMW, and Tesla. In China, the market that was supposed to save them, demand has collapsed. And Ford, Lincoln's parent company, has made it clear their priorities are somewhere else. trucks, EVs, and global platforms. Lincoln feels just like an afterthought. Owning a Lincoln in 2025 doesn't feel like prestige. It feels like holding on to a brand that's running out of relevance. The badge is still here, but the status that once came with it, that disappeared a long time ago. Lincoln's problem is that it's forgettable, but the next brand is the opposite, impossible to ignore because it looks stunning. The problem is beauty doesn't keep you on the road, and no brand proves that better than Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo is the kind of brand that makes car lovers weak in the knees. The Giulia is gorgeous. The Stelvio SUV is one of the best looking crossovers ever built. Even their older cars have this Italian flair that just makes you stop and stare. But owning an Alfa isn't like admiring one from afar. It's like dating someone who's excited, beautiful, unpredictable, and completely exhausting. The highs are incredible, but the lows, they'll drain you. Owners report constant electrical issues, engines that overheat, warning lights that come on for no reason, and parts that take weeks or months to even arrive. In some cases, the cars spend more time in the dealership than in the driveway. One owner described his Giulia perfect, the best car I've ever driven and the worst car I've ever owned. And the numbers back it up. They sell fewer than 15,000 cars a year in the US. That's not a brand thriving. That's a brand barely surviving. The parent company is already shifting focus to Jeep and Ram. Their future doesn't look much brighter. Their EV plans are vague, their lineup is thin, and the competition is only getting stronger. Unless something drastic changes, Alfa Romeo is headed for extinction. Another brand remembered for its beauty, not for its survival. Alfa Romeo is fading because cars can't live up to the beauty. But Fiat, that's a brand that tried to make a comeback but fell flat on its face. When Fiat re-entered the US market back in 2011, there was a buzz. The little 500 was quirky, stylish, and different. Ads were everywhere. For a brief moment, it felt like the Fiat might carve out a niche the way the Mini did. But also as quickly as it arrived, the hype disappeared. The Fiat 500 turned out to be unreliable. Owners complained about electrical issues, transmissions that wore out far too soon, and interiors that felt cheap compared to the price tag. Consumer Reports regularly ranked it near the bottom of its class. Then came the 500L and 500X. The bigger Fiats were supposed to broaden the lineup. Instead, they exposed the brand's weakness even more. Awkward styling, poor reliability, and resale values that tanked instantly. Dealers couldn't even give them away. Fiat pulled almost everything from the US lineup a few years later, retreating back overseas. The only thing left now is the 500e, an electric version of the same small car that flopped the first time around. Globally, still sells cheap cars in Europe and South America, but in North America, the brand has no momentum, no trust, and no clear reason to exist. Fiat came back into America promising style and personality. What it delivered was a punchline, and unless something radical changes, Fiat is heading right back out the door. If you're into breakdowns like this, hit that like button and subscribe. We've already covered which cars are worth keeping forever and the ones you should avoid. So check out the channel when you're done here. There's a lot more coming. Fiat failed because it couldn't win trust back, but the next brand is different. People actually like its cars. The problem is liking a brand doesn't guarantee it survives the next decade, and Mazda might be proof of that. Mazda has always been the underdog. For years, they built cars that drive better than the competition. The Miata is a legend. The Mazda 3 and CX-5 are loved for their sharp handling and clean design. Ask almost any reviewer and they'll tell you Mazda makes some of the best driving cars in its class. So how is Mazda in danger? It comes down to size, money, and the future. Mazda doesn't have the resources of Toyota, Volkswagen, or even Hyundai. And in a world racing around electric cars, Mazda is at its crawl. They've got one or two EV concepts floating around, but no real lineup, no aggressive plan, and no massive budget to compete. The brand has already pulled out of some markets quietly. In the US, their sales are flat compared to rivals that are growing. And globally, they risk being swallowed up or pushed aside by bigger automakers with deeper pockets. It's not that Mazda builds bad cars. They build great ones, but building great cars isn't enough anymore. Without a clear EV strategy, without scale, and without a financial safety net, Mazda risks becoming another brand people remember fondly but can't buy new anymore. Mazda's story might not be crash and burn like Fiat or Chrysler, but it could be something quieter, a slow fade, ending with another company stepping in or taking over. For car lovers, that would be a tragedy, because Mazda's always punched above its weight. The question is, how much longer can they keep fighting? Mazda's problem is size, small brand, small budget, but the next name on this list has opposite issues. Genesis came in swinging with flashy designs and luxury features, and we mentioned it earlier about taking over other brands, but building hype is easy. Building a sustainable brand, that's where the cracks start to show. When Hyundai launched the Genesis as its own luxury brand, people rolled their eyes. Another experiment, another badge, another failed attempt to break into the luxury market, but we gotta give credit where it's due. The cars are impressive. The G70 and G80 sedans, sharp. The GV70 and GV80 SUVs are gorgeous. Interiors that make BMWs look plain, and tech that punches way above its price tag. So why is Genesis on this list? Because luxury is about more than good products. It's about legacy, trust, and image. Lexus spent decades proving itself. BMW and Mercedes have a century of prestige. Genesis is just barely out of its diapers. The sale numbers tell the story. Genesis sold about 70,000 cars in the US last year, which is pretty solid, but still a fraction of what Lexus or Mercedes sell. And many of those numbers come from deep discounts and subsidized leases. That's not organic demand, that's buying market share. Long term, it could be risky. Luxury buyers want confidence that their $60,000 car will hold value, that the brand will still be around in 10 years, and the dealer network is strong. Genesis doesn't have that yet. Resale values are already shaky, and the brand is still leaning on Hyundai's infrastructure. Genesis has great products, maybe some of the best in the segment right now, but great products doesn't guarantee survival. Without brand power, without legacy, and without the financial cushion to weather a downturn, Genesis could end up as a cautionary tale, a luxury brand that shined bright but faded too fast. Genesis struggles with being new, but the next brand has the opposite problem. It's been around for decades, and people still can't explain what it stands for. Acura burst into the scene in the late 80s with some real promise. The Legend sedan and the NSX supercar gave the brand instant credibility. For a while, it looked like Honda had built the luxury powerhouse to rival Lexus. But fast forward to 2025 and Acura feels lost. Is it performance? Is it luxury? Is it value? Truth is, it doesn't own any of those spaces. Meanwhile, Lexus has reliability locked down. BMW owns driving excitement, Tesla owns tech, but Acura is somewhere in the middle, trying to be everything but leading in nothing. Acura sells fewer cars than Lexus and has been steadily losing market share in the US. Their EV roadmap is also shaky, with only a handful of projects announced while rivals are flooding the market with electric options. And when you look at resale values, Acura is getting crushed. The new TLX and MDX loses value almost immediately because buyers know they can just go buy the Honda version for less money and get nearly the same experience. The irony is, Acura still makes solid cars. The MDX is good, the Integra nameplate just came back, the TLX Type S has fans. None of them move the needle enough to give the brand a clear identity. And without identity, Acura risks becoming redundant, absorbed into Honda, or fading away entirely. Acura had the right start, but unless it figures out who it really is in its EV era, it may not have a future by 2030. Acura struggles with identity, and the last car brand on this list has an even bigger problem: survival itself. Once a symbol of British luxury, Jaguar today feels like a brand running off the road. Jaguar has history most brands would kill for. The E-Type was called the most beautiful car ever made. Their sedans once rivaled Mercedes. Their racing pedigree was legendary. But in 2025, Jaguar is a ghost of what it used to be. Global sales collapsed after barely 60,000 cars last year. To put that in perspective, Toyota sells more Corollas in a single week than Jaguar sells in a year. The lineup is shrinking, and the brand is clinging to a promise of an all-electric relaunch by 2025. But promises don't keep the lights on. Right now, Jaguar showrooms are empty, resale values are in the freefall, and dealers are dropping the brand one by one. The truth is, Jaguar waited too long to adapt. Their EVs aren't here yet, their gas cars are outdated, and in a world where Tesla, Mercedes, and even startups are grabbing market share, Jaguar doesn't have the momentum or money to compete. This is what the end of the road looks like. An iconic name with a glorious past but no clear future. By 2030, Jaguar might not just be struggling, it might not even exist. So those are the 10 car brands that are running out of time. Some will fade slowly, some will collapse hard, but all of them face an uncertain future. If you found this breakdown useful, hit that like button and subscribe. Helps us keep making these deep dives. You can also check out our other videos. We've already covered most reliable sedans you should never sell and the cars you'll regret buying. Trust me, you don't want to miss those.